FortiCWP, Cloud Security Analytics and Posture Management. FortiCWP, or Cloud Workload Protection, provides a number of benefits. All the information about FortiCWP can be found on the Fortinet website under fortinet.com/cloud. Some of the FortiCWP benefits are risk management, data security, traffic analysis, threat detection, and the ability to gain compliance reports. FortiCWP is licensed based on the number of VMs that are being protected, as well as the amount of storage that is being protected. So this video is going to show you how to calculate those things on Azure, Amazon, and Google using some native tools for those platforms in their Cloud Shell environments. Nothing to be downloaded, nothing to be installed, just run these one-line commands to determine what the utilization is of that cloud, the number of VMs, and the amount of storage being utilized. The FortiCWP dashboard shows an overview of what is happening and being monitored at each cloud provider, AWS, Google Cloud, and Azure. To view the licensing that is in effect, go to Admin and click on Account. Here we can see that Workload Guardian and Storage Guardian Advanced licensing is in effect. To determine how much Workload Guardian and how much Storage Guardian licensing is required, you would need to go into each cloud provider, count the VMs, or calculate the amount of storage in use. None of the cloud providers provide a one-button or one-command access to this information. So what I've created is a GitHub repository of one-line commands that can be run in each cloud provider's Cloud Shell environment without having to download any additional tooling, just utilizing the cloud provider's native tools. The GitHub repository for the one-line commands is at github.com/fortinetsolutions/CWP-sizing. There are one-line commands for Azure, AWS, and Google Cloud. The README documentation in the repository details each cloud provider's one-line commands. In Azure, you need to select the subscription that you are running the one-line commands against. In Google Cloud, you need to select the project that you are running the one-line commands against. Both of those account selections, whether it's a subscription in Azure or a project in Google Cloud, those commands to select the account are also detailed in the README documentation. In the README documentation for Azure, you will find commands for both PowerShell and for Azure CLI. Commands that calculate storage as well as count VMs. The VM lists can be shown for all VMs or for just VMs that are running. In Amazon, the commands are utilizing the AWS CLI. And in Google Cloud, the commands are utilizing gsutil for storage and gcloud compute to determine VMs, whether running or all VMs. To run the one-line commands, I could certainly copy them from the README documentation and paste them into my Cloud Shell environment. For Azure Storage, I could copy the one-line command, go to my Cloud Shell environment, and paste it. Hit Enter and run it. I've already selected the subscription that I would like to calculate the storage in, and when I get the response back, it shows me for that subscription, it's 2,131 megabytes that are being utilized. I could manipulate the command as well and change it from megabytes to gigabytes by changing the constant that I'm using to divide my storage calculation by, as well as changing the label so that when the command runs and prints out, I would have the appropriate label. Here I see that I have 2 gigabytes being utilized in Azure storage. So while I could copy and paste the commands, I can also clone the GitHub repository and utilize script wrappers that I've created around the one-line commands. If I go back to the repository and look at the Azure directory or AWS or Google Cloud, you'll see commands that wrap the one-line commands. For the Azure account, I've created a folder for PowerShell and for Bash because I've written the commands in both PowerShell and Azure CLI. And you'll see there's a command for getting storage utilized, getting all the VMs, or getting just the VMs that are running. This command that is in the script wrapper, getStorageUtilized.ps1, is the same exact command that I just copy and pasted into my Cloud Shell environment. Now, how do you instantiate a Cloud Shell environment? In your cloud provider portal, for example, here is my Azure portal, you'll see a Cloud Shell icon. And you can click that and it will start up a Cloud Shell session. My default is set to PowerShell, so I launch into a PowerShell session. However, if I want a Bash session, I can either select from the drop-down menu or just type Bash at the command prompt. And now I'm in a Bash session. And I could copy and paste the Azure CLI commands for Bash into this environment and get the answers that I'm looking for. Let's give that a try. So if I go to Azure and I look at Bash and I get this get storage utilized shell, I copy this entire command and paste it into my Bash session. When the command completes, you'll see, just like the PowerShell command, it reports back to me that I have 2.08 gigabytes in use. And just like the PowerShell command, if I wanted to change the size of output, I would just have to change the calculation component of the one-line command. This one-line command goes through the storage accounts that are in the subscription, passes that result to looking at all the containers that are in all those storage accounts, passes that result to look at all the blobs and the content length of those blobs in those containers, in those storage accounts, in the subscription. Calculates the total and then prints it out. To enable you to just run the command wrappers, you would have to clone the repository, switch into the directory, and run that clone wrapper. To clone the GitHub repository, use the git clone command and point it to the repository HTTPS address. In this case, github.com/FortinetSolutions/CWP-sizing. This will copy all of those commands and directories into your Cloud Shell environment. Git, the GIT command, is a native command to Azure, AWS, and Google Cloud Shell. Once I've copied that repository down, I can switch to the CWP-sizing directory and then go to the particular cloud provider that I'm interested in. And in this case, for Azure, I'll go to the PowerShell subdirectory. And I can see that I have the commands getStorageUtilized.ps1, getVMsAll.ps1, and getVMsRunning.ps1. I can run any of those directly by typing in their name. GetStorageUtilized.ps1 will run that one-liner command and report back to me the information in megabytes. GetVMsAll will look at all the VMs by utilizing getAZVM and pulling back all the VMs running or not on the system. And then getVMsRunning brings back all the running VMs. The bash commands work the same way. But to run them, I need to be in a bash environment. Now that I'm in the bash environment, I could run the get storage utilized, get VMs all, or get VMs running command. First thing I need to do is make them executable. So I would change the mode. Make them executable by running change mode plus X on all the sh commands in the directory. Now I can run get storage utilized. The result comes back and shows me that I have 2.08189 gigabytes of storage being utilized. I can run the get VMs all. And I can see all the VMs that I have in my subscription. Or I could run the get VMs running to see just the VMs that are running in the account. In AWS, you start the Cloud Shell environment by clicking on the Cloud Shell icon once you've logged into the Management Console. Just like Azure and GCP, we can copy and paste commands from the GitHub repository. For example, to look at all the storage being utilized across all my S3 buckets, I could copy the command and then paste it in my Cloud Shell and run it. This will look at all the S3 buckets, all the contents in those S3 buckets, and calculate their sizes being utilized and total them up. I can clone the repository. The get clone command is also native in AWS's Cloud Shell. Once I've cloned the repository to my Cloud Shell environment, I can switch to it and then switch to the directory that I want to utilize, in this case, the AWS directory. The commands in this AWS directory are named the same as the commands in the Azure and GCP bash environments. They also need to have their execution bits turned on by running change mode plus X on all the .sh files. Once I've done that, I can run get storage utilized. I can run get VMs all, and I can run get VMs running. The storage command looked at all my S3 buckets and calculated the storage being utilized. The VMs all command looked at all the regions that my account has access to and counted all the VMs that are instantiated in those regions, in whatever state that they're in. And the get VMs running command looked at all the regions that I have access to and only counted VMs that are running. In this case, I had 9 VMs instantiated in US East 1, but only 5 of them are actually running in US East 1. That information will help determine what kind of licensing you'll need to get for FortiCWP. The last cloud that we'll look at is Google Cloud, or GCP. The storage calculation for GCP is actually very simple, utilizing the gsutil command. I still do have a wrapper for it, but to show you how the copy and paste could work for Google Cloud, it's just as simple as it is for Amazon and Azure. Copy and paste. Now remember, with Azure, I had to pick my subscription that I want to run my command against. The same is true for Google. I have to pick the project that I want to run against. This will look at each of the storage containers that has been set up on Google and calculate all the storage that's being utilized. In this case, I see that 529 gigabytes is being utilized by Google's storage. Just like Azure and AWS, I can clone the GitHub repository and run the one-line commands. With the repository cloned, I can switch into the GCP directory, see that I have the same commands there, get-storage-utilized.sh, get-vms-all.sh, and get-vms-running.sh. Just like the bash environment in Azure and the environment in AWS, I have to make these executable by turning on the execute bit, by running change mode plus X on all the sh files. Get storage utilized, get VMs all, and get VMs running. The difference between GCP and AWS is that in GCP, if you ran the gcloud compute instances command, you'd get back instances for every zone. There are multiple zones under each region. What I've done for the GCP command is to consolidate all the VMs running in a region's zones. You'll also not see regions that don't have any VMs instantiated at all. So if the count is 0, it's just not listed. So the names that you see here are the regions, and the numbers are the consolidated or aggregated number of VMs that are running across all the zones underneath that region. So I hope this helps you in determining licensing needs for FortiCWP. You can always put issues into the GitHub repository if you feel that there's something that could be better or could be changed or is just not reporting correctly. Please let me know. Thank you so much.